Good morning, dear colleagues. We are glad to welcome you at our webinar, Registration of Medicines in Libya. Today, we will work for 1.5 hours. Please feel free to address all your questions to the speaker in the comments section. We encourage you to do that. Attention, important thing is that today we have no video recording of the webinar, just live today. I also would like to draw your attention to a number of trainings devoted to medicines registration, which Farm Education team is working on right now. We plan to organize more than 50 respective trainings in the coming year. Upcoming trainings by countries are the following: Vietnam, Azerbaijan, Lebanon, and Jordan. If you have in mind any topics that might be interesting for you, please share with us your ideas by email. We will carefully check and we'll try to work on them in the first priority. Well, that's all from the technical side, and right now we are ready to start. I am very glad to give a floor to our today's honorable speaker, Marina Pokrovska, Regulatory Affairs Senior Manager in International Pharma Company. Marina, we may start. The floor is yours.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, depending on the time zone. I hope you can hear me and see me well. And the slides, of course, important. So today's session dedicated to the pharmaceutical market Libya. And we will together go through the main requirements and look closer into what is and how it is done, the registration of drug products and marketing activities in this country. Maybe first we start with the agenda. You saw it already, so just to sum up, we do some introduction and the country overview. It is important to understand there are specifics of these countries, which will also help to understand the pharmaceutical market situation. We will review some available key information about importation and see then closer the regulatory affairs requirements about manufacturing site registration, the so-called local registration of the manufacturer or a GMP. Then a review of application forms, plan of the inspection, some information medical device, other regulatory aspects which might be important, and of course conclusion and question and answer sessions. Guys, also a few words about myself. I am Senior Manager, Head of the department, International Department, Global Department, responsible for emerging markets, or so-called rest of the world. I'm working for International Pharmaceutical Company. Headquarters are in Switzerland, and we are supporting a lot of MAs worldwide. I'm working with regions and our regional colleagues or partners in Middle East, North Africa, Central Africa, English-speaking Africa, or French-speaking Africa, Central Latin America countries, and some others. You can see that. We are doing support of all kind of regulatory activities, life cycle. So I'm going to share my experience with you today. Some also important information, a disclaimer, because I can only represent the information which is available at my site. It is not at all any advertising or any legal advice. This is just the information and experience I am sharing with you. And also always check the information if it is still valid or there were some implemented updates. We live in a constantly changing environment, and so I'm sharing the information available for my practical experience for today. And there is no conflict of interest from my side. So now we can start to review the more closely the Libya country. So there's a country which is located in Africa, in North Africa. It is always belong and very often belong to so-called MENA region, Middle East and North Africa, because it is an Arabic country. Sometimes, and in some countries or companies or the structures, it will be also related to so-called Levant region, together with countries Iran, Iraq, Syria, Egypt, even Israel. But officially, it is part of such regional communities as AMU, Gomeza. You will find the explanation of the abbreviation. So the most important is to mention Maghreb Union. So Maghreb Union is countries of French-speaking North Africa countries, Arabic also. So it is Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya. Yeah, so as I already mentioned, official language, it is Arabic country, Muslim, so official language will be Arabic, and from the old dialects we know some modern standard Arabic. Currency is Libyan dinar, and you can see also the latest available official population number. So despite of a quite big territory, the population is not really big due to different factors and also natural, because the most part of the territory is desert. Nevertheless, officially, climatic zone, it is 2 and 3. And by the WHO, it is assigned to climatic zone 2. This may be also important to remember when we speak to pharmaceutical products. Also some available information about Libya. Probably you know there was a big, after the so-called Arabic revolution or the local war, there was a big damage, and since then it's still unstable from a political point of view, and also very country with very closed, not sharing a lot of official information, but you can also find some interesting metrics measured by international organizations and both European, worldwide, and US. So there are some index ranking of doing business. And still, maybe I will mention here that from North Africa countries, Libya holds the largest oil reserves, and it is the basis for actually economic potential. And yeah, we will review further information about medical sector. So in general, of course, since all the economic situation was severely damaged and continues to be severely damaged, so medical sector, of course, suffered a lot. There is quite full stop of any local production side. It's healthcare system is suffering the shortages because of issues and sanctions during many years, which influenced, of course, the importation and supply. And every year since 2011, it is Libya is reported among the country with the highest humanitarian needs. And I think since past few years, it's also observed some changes. So we will review them later. But also important to mention, if you see the map, you also can understand that the border countries are also are not so much highly regulated, and there are a lot of issues to control the borders between those countries. So from the south, it is Sudan, and it is also a big gap which cause the counterfeit circulations in this country as well. So you can see the some numbers finally related to pharmaceutical. So it is official what is registered as pharmacy drugstores, so the channel of distribution for pharmaceutical market. That is quite few branches of registered as limited companies. So it is mostly private business, and yeah, it also has its own specifics. So it is also understandable that it's not covering the demand of the population and of the market. So there is a tendency which allow us to speak about some potential growth. So the regulatory authority, the main regulatory authority which is regulated medical sector is the Ministry of Health. It is also the main regulator for control of drug circulation and the issuing all the official regulations, decrees, or circulars, as they also call, and covering and governing the medical practice, education in medical area, so on and so forth. Mostly, as you can see from the slides, so the distribution is done by wholesalers. So they are also registered as a sole company, and we will talk about it closer later, about the type of the company. So the size of a market is very small because it is suffering from the shortages. The WHO official sources report shortages in even very key and essential medicines like medicinal products to treat diabetics, cardiovascular, tuberculosis, etc. So this the general overview and the size of the market in currency. So the United Nations reported in 2022 230, like around 235. So it is growing now. The numbers are growing of the market, so you can see some trends up and down. But now there is a trend to grow because it's more than 30% more than the previous year. And we all understand that it was still a year of COVID and like massive closure. So there are some tendencies, and of course the key players in the country would be public hospitals and private providers of the services who issue the request and demand, and also the medical supply organizations. So they are centralized as well. Majority of medicinal market and the pharmaceutical market in Libya is covered by the importation. So as I already said, there is quite no local production, and this is also showing the, let's say, the opportunity to enter the market because of the low competition from the local part. Still, as I said, the humanitarian needs are very high and also include the vaccination support to pediatrics and basic health needs. So there are many official reports issued by the WHO and United Nations organizations. I encourage you to investigate more, to read, so it can be also interesting for the development of strategies or to think about the cooperation with, for example, international organization. So this is the overview of the country, just to make a general impression of what is the situation there. And of course, we moved the market entry prerequisites. So there are Libyan Ministry of Health organization, and there are requirements for every drug and for entering the market. So the basics are captured here. I not ask you to read that all, but just to sum up. So every company, the business license is required for not only pharmaceutical but also parapharmaceutical, like food supplements, medical devices, and nutrition products. Then every pharmacy, drugstore is also required to be registered by pharmacist syndicate, and pharmacist syndicate also licensed and cover the educational part and control the pharmaceutical practices. Then there is the department to control. So the Food and Drug Control Center, established by the Libyan Ministry of Health. This organization is performing the quality control and all required actions related to that. So they are also a part of review of documentation and to control the conformity of imported goods. Then there are some requirements for the custom clearance, which is important for the companies' importation activities. So all the import and export activities require the license from the Libyan Customs Authority. And there are some specifics related, of course, to pharmaceuticals and medical devices. And drug product registration is also now required. So we will speak about how to obtain this number and how it is controlled by this. Also, there are requirements for the registration of a drug product. So there are 5 key requirements which have to be met for the entering the market. Yeah, I'm checking if there are any questions so far. No. Okay, so we can move forward. And we start with the reviewing those requirements. So business registration of the company in Libya. So there are official commercial law and decree of Ministry of Economics, which cover the possible options to register a business by the international company. So I assume we all are not Libyans, and this is why we are interested in this information, how to start be present, and if there is an option to register our company in Libya. So the branch office is the option, joint venture company, representative office. Okay, these three are very much popular in the international business area and also in pharmaceutical and big pharma. Unfortunately, I need to mention that there is quite a few information, almost no information, how to establish these big pharma companies. So maybe the main reason is because there are strict conditions for each, and it's just not interesting for pharma. I will explain. So, for example, for the joint venture company, it is officially required that their stocks will be owned minimum for 51% by the Libyan nationality. So this person who is Libyan, and plus the executive director for branch office and for joint venture and for representative office also required to be a local person from Libya. And there are also some other moments which for now are not widely used by the pharmaceutical markets. So it's not really the usual office, and representative offices are mostly run by bank sector, for example. So the option number 4 will be the most popular and the most of use by the pharma, big pharma, and all other players. It is operating through a Libyan distributor or a local commercial agent. That's the most popular, and maybe to the start, to only first steps of establishing the relationship with this country will be the most recommended option, because it will streamline a lot of activities which already are performed, and they own the required documents, and also will guide you through the required next steps. National competent authorities, of course, I provide the overview. So there's a Libyan Ministry of Health, and their official pages, everything is, of course, in Arabic language, which is not very friendly to read. There is an English translation button, but I need to admit that it's a very randomly and not updated, or very seldomly updated. Not always there is fresh information located to the even official websites. Maybe the situation will change, and yeah, so I encourage you still to try and to see how it works later. So there is also information and documentation center provided by Ministry of Health, and there are official contacts, and there is also an option to apply with some questions to the Ministry of Health and to set up some comments. As I already said, the Food and Drug Control Center, which performed the analysis and the control. So there are also official page from their side, also in Arabic language. So for the moment, and for the start of doing business with Libya, of course, you will need someone who speaks and read and understand Arabic language. This will help a lot in many communication. So this is also can be your local agent. And a pharmaceutical syndicate. So they also have their web page and some news on how they perform GDP examinations. Some of them perform some trainings, and also via pharmaceutical syndicate, it is possible to perform lectures and to spread the educational information for pharmaceutical agents about the products. Now, finally, regulatory affairs requirements. So what kind of documentation and procedures we are facing when we want to register our drug products. So the key array requirements are not as much detailed as other international requirements we are probably used to, but still there are some specifics. So there is a official law in Libya since 1973, and which demands the registration of medicinal agents and medicinal products in Libya, and before the entrance to the Libyan market. So the procedure has been established a long time ago. However, it was not really well followed, and in a very detailed controlled by them also. So there are two main procedures which are required. First, and from where we start, will be the registration of every manufacturer. And this process takes approximately 1-2 years because it is it does include site inspection, and it takes time. Plus, there is a following registration of a finished product, medicinal product. This procedure takes about 6 months. Yeah, and it is because the very important prerequisite for it will be that the manufacturer are approved already. The proposed MA holder or the holder of the official holder of the license, you can choose any strategy. There is no official demand that MA holder should be also a local company, and somehow you should not worry that you transfer your IP to any local company. So you can decide. Apologies. Then there is, even I mentioned, official timelines are not available. So it's just from practice. And because the schedule and the local capacity and all the other constraints may influence this period. Then only just recently the importation and official authorities started really to check the drug product registration. Previously, it was all the importation was really governed by so-called importation permit. So it was a document requested and issued only based on the site registration documents, and drug product documentation was not submitted, not reviewed, like an official demand to enter the market. So that was described in the law, but unfortunately not performed by the authority themselves. There was issues with capacity and also with the right process to control it. Now there are observed some changes because the importation permit were stopped. Even those issued before, they were stopped until the receipt of submission and approval of the drug product information together with manufacturing site information. And we start with the site registration requirements. So some more details. You need to prepare and fill the application form. This will consist of the official application and plus additional registration forms. We will review more in details how they look like in the next slides. Then important that all original copies of the application which are going to be submitted, they also need to be stamped and signed. So it requires wet ink, like we say, signature and stamp by the manufacturer officials, and also together with scan copies, but also the soft copies legalized. Application is not needed, but it will be also described later. So you collect all this package and dispatch this for submission. So among the documents which are required to enclose, like an annexes, will be, of course, the valid GMP certificate from the country of origin. It means from the country where the manufacturer is located and operate. Maybe one important note from my personal experience is sometimes a situation occurs that the company is located in one EU and GMP might come from other also EU country. It happens quite rarely, but it can happen. Then there is a need to attach additional clarification letter. And maybe will be also important to enclose local GMP equivalent document. So that this will be the solution for such cases. The same if we are speaking about sites which are outside EU zone, other countries. So it is, of course, officially required to have a local GMP certificate or equivalent. Plus, it will be really supportive to have GMP issued by some countries among EU, US, and other countries are highly recognized worldwide. Then it is required to have a CPP for the product which are produced by this manufacturing facility. Of course, number one complementary and beneficial will be to have CPPs from FDA or MA or the WHO certification, but it is very often not applicable for companies. So free sale in this case you just skip, and it is not obligatory to have this. So obligatory document will be free sales certificate or CPP, certificate of pharmaceutical product from the country of origin. So it is stated for at least 5 products. Of course, it can happen that you can have less interest. So if you or the document from the manufacturing side is ownership of other company and it's not so easy to get them. So it's also a point for negotiation with your local agent and with the Ministry of Health in each and specific case. So there's points which can be discussed. Also, there will be this list of countries where products are registered. So it's like a worldwide status. I think Yeah, I think this is clear. What does it mean? So don't need to explain this. You take those products which you are interested to register. You start with the manufacturing site where they are manufactured, but you already provide also the information where else, which countries are receiving these products, where it is supplied, and a manufacturing license, very similar to GMP certificate explanation. Um, Additionally, of course, there is a need to pay a registration fees. So for the moment, it is about 5,000 dinars, but the situation can change. So check the latest what is available. Then also site master file, letter or the statement suggesting the dates for the inspection, which are suitable for your manufacturer or for you if you are also representative the manufacturer. Then a full list of products planned for registration and supply from this manufacturing side, and annual report of financial statement for previous 2 years. This is a complicated document, and especially international companies, they are really, actually all companies they are, and financial departments are not willing at all to share such information because it is confidential and it is highly sensitive. So for this document, there is a possibility to negotiate with a local agent and to prepare, let's say, to align and to prepare the submission of this documentation directly to the Ministry of Health department. So as a confidential documents to avoid the a long chain of transferring the documentation. So there are options. You can check with the courier services. There are options to ensure security supply of documents, confidential documents to such authorities. Samples of labeling. So they are stated as a samples of labeling. Also, they will accept as a picture of the products, but better also to have like artworks provided, and potentially also the samples, physical samples of a product may be requested to perform some analysis. So there, note for all documents, the official certificates like CPP, manufacturing license, GMP, such documentation have to be legalized by the Libyan authority, and all documents have to be translated to English, which is clear. And officially, of course, if you operate via the local agent or the local company, but the all information is from other company, then there will be a need to have a distribution agreement signed with this agency and local company, or if there is some confidential information, then there is an option to prepare such letter of authorization, and this letter of authorization will be confirming the relationship with the company who will submit your documents and pay the fees and lead the communication on your behalf. Site registration forms. So there are examples provided and translated. So this form contains the key information required to be provided by manufacturer. So this is a first note that it has to be, you see it with the marked with the yellow. So it has to be complete by the manufacturer. So even if you operate and you have only contract manufacturing organization, you need to agree and ask exactly your representative of the manufacturing organization to fill it and to sign it. There are some general info, also mentioning the type of submission will be initial or the changes or the renewal. So the terminology differs a bit, but the sense is similar, and I hope this is also clear. Then title, pages, authorities. So there is quite a list of general information, and these documents will be also required to be submitted for site renewal in 5 years. So then if you have any serious changes during those period of validity, you need, of course, to discuss it also with your local agent and or with the Ministry of Health with the help of a local agent, which changes exactly required to be submitted. These are the second page of this application form, and as you see, it is also required to enclose a lot of additional information from about the facility itself, some plans and a list of equipments, details for personnel. So you can see what is applicable to your case and discuss with the manufacturing organization what level of details in each and every supporting file you can provide. So there is a list of documents which you might need to enclose, but there is no guidance for the list of details for each and every. So it's up to you to decide and to agree with your agent. There is also, of course, some general consent that the information is correct and true, signatures, and I just remind that signatures and stamps have to be live wet and by the manufacturer. These are additional forms related to personnel, also with some details related to personnel of the manufacturing side, including total numbers and company structure and qualifications. So this kind of information, what is applicable, you can include either with the typing. So it's not allowed to fill the form with the hand writing. So it's important to type. Or you cover it with annexes which you apply. If it is so, you can make just a reference to a certain document and a page and or the page. Also, the form number 3 is detailed information required and requested for the production and premises. So this is more about the manufacturing side building and specific operations and relations to a certain area. Also the information about plant general manager, including his CV and title and name. So these details. So this will be the form number 3. It's also required to provide information about heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, and control and of environmental parameters. So this information you are again either type inside the form or enclose with the annex and make the referrals. The part number 4, quality control part, so it's also self-explanatory. It's related to all processes and how it is covered, the quality control and the quality assurance, starting substances and in-process control, then finished product control, control of packaging materials, laboratories, equipment in these laboratories, and other details like self-inspections and system of quality assurance and the change control procedures. So you can see the details, what can be requested, and examples of documentation you can also provide. Just again, a note that all documentation and annexes which you are going to attach as a supportive documentation, you need to translate that to English language. So, and in case of any additional request, and during the site inspection, of course, the documents can be requested to be translated. So just for you to be prepared to this. Then you collect all this information. The legalization of a key official certificates are done. You collect all this file, agree with your local agent, the payment of the fees, and the submission is done. The process of review and registration committee is started. This can take a few weeks. Also, again, there is no official time during which they are obliged to review. So it's also very often depending on internal capacity and or the other external factors. But also maybe to note here that the Arabic countries, they have other schedule of holidays, and this also influence a lot the schedule of working of the governmental authorities and others. So just to remind, like there is a Friday day off officially, and the week starts from Sunday. There are also other time periods and national holidays which are long and a very specific way of working during the Ramadan. So this kind of things may influence the timelines even longer. If there are any questions, they of course will ask you to provide clarifications or some additional documents. Then there will be a plan and a time to agree and set up the site inspection, on-site inspection, personal presence audit is obligatory, absolutely. So even during COVID, there was no exception, and were just registrations were put on hold until with the commitments to perform such activities. Then it is important to explain that, of course, the site inspections will be an exercise with the long planning, because it will require some actions at the manufacture, the preparation, the availability of a key staff, absence of any conflict with other critical activities, and also a planning and agreement if any special production activities have to be covered. So some related to the specific list of products, and there is no conflict with any other regular activities scheduled for the site. So it is usually some back and forth communication to agree the timelines, where it is also suitable for inspectors from the Ministry of Health. They will receive the official inspection invitation from the manufacturer. So this will be like one additional document later required. And very important to mention that all probably major of countries will require issuing visa for the inspectors to travel, and this will also take some time. So during this time of setting a visa and planning the trip, you will also have this time to agree the scope agenda of inspection, and the Ministry of Health will suggest a number of inspectors and duration. There is again no official regulation. This will be a point from the scope and the number of products. But basically, from practical experience and unofficially, I can say that it will also depend from the country where the manufacturing site is located. And we have been requested and suggested the 3 to 5 inspectors and duration 4 or 5 days for one manufacturing site with only oral dosage forms, solid dosage forms production. So just for you to consider this information. What is also unofficially but important to mention about site inspection, that you need to understand that there will be also some unofficial requirements for covering the business flights and special hotels and maybe even, of course, dinners and accommodation, traveling costs to be covered. Also can be asked some sightseeing or some program for inspectors. So I pointed to think and to compare with your company compliance requirements and to discuss this very much in detail with the local agent in advance. Then usually like all the visa arrangements and the traveling and inspection will be not less than several months, so it will be like a final issue of the visa, even not earlier than they say maximum 3 months, but now we need to understand that it takes longer. And Ministry of Health arrive to the plant, provide the inspection there. There might be some additional questions during the inspection, but they will come back, review. So all the other steps looks very familiar to the other site inspection and local GMP inspection. So they will prepare the final audit report. And of course, in case of positive result, there will be already like verbally communicated decision, and this will be important moment to know and to start some other preparations. So then it will be a certificate issued and used by the all importation permits and activities and for the registration of the drug product. This registration certificate for the manufacturing site is valid for 5 years, then it is required to submit a renewal. But again, if some critical information is changed for the manufacturer during these years, you need also to discuss the and need to submit to resubmit files or to submit some amendments, and what it will mean in regards to all other activities required. I don't know if you have any questions, because, yeah, not for now. So we move maybe with some strategies which we have discussed also and tried. So it is possible to prepare and submit files together with the site manufacturing documentation. It will only not start, authority will not start reviewing them, and or it will not for sure issue any approval before the site manufacturing site is approved. So it's better not to move too fast, too early. And as I mentioned on the previous slide, so when you are receiving already the positive conclusion for the site registration, it makes sense, it is possible and makes sense to submit files for drug product, or maybe a bit earlier, just before the visit, if you are very much confident and in agreement with the local agent. So these are possible options to make the submission earlier and expect some earlier approvals. And also important to mention that in case there is several manufacturing sites involved. So for example, you have a bulk manufacturing and then packaging done by some other manufacturing facility. So you explain this to site audit. Also, you explain this and discuss this with the local agent. And it is recommended to start with the main manufacturing facility, where more than 70% is done, I mean bulk manufacturing site. And you start with the manufacturer where you have the most products coming from. And later, and with all successfully performed activities for this main site, you can also try to negotiate regarding the other facilities and how to register the packaging sites. Alternatively, there is, and if the manufacturing sites are located not far from each other, or maybe the same city or region, it is also possible to plan it for the one visit, but also negotiate this with the local agent that it is included and approved to be included into agenda. Sometimes it will be requested to have like a break time between two different facilities, like day or two. It's again not described officially, but it's possible. Then we are ready to submit finished product registration. So there is also the list of requirements. So the package will look like this. There's a registration application form. Again, CPPs, if possible, centralized, but it's just included into official requirements. So I don't delete them, but very often it's just not applicable. Legalized CPP, free sales certificate, then a document which previously did not appear. So it's a price certificate, and it's also need to be legalized. So this is a suggested price and justified price for public and private entities. And you will need your commercial team also to work with the local agent on the instructions on how to prepare it. And registration fees payments is also for the moment is officially this amount. And worldwide registration status, drug master file, artworks, and finished product samples. So as you see, it's a quite simple list of registration. Drug master file, of course, It's a very detailed document. You um, you need to see for the samples and artworks, and you will need to agree which packaging will be accepted. So it is possible that um, you don't prepare only Arabic language, but it's better to have Arabic and English, or at least English, and this will be required to be agreed between local agent. But this kind of discussions you will do during even the site registration, so it will be much more required to discuss in advance. So these documents prepared, stamped, legalized, and sent to authority. But we will recommend to also prepare like an abstract additionally. So there is no CTD format at all established at Libya, but it is recommended, or it can help, let's say, to speed up review and simplify review if you can extract certain information from module 3 and provide it enclosed to this application form. What kind of additional statements may be required as a Muslim country, and it will be definitely required to ensure that the product does not contain alcohol or a pork. So sometimes they will ask to issue such statement, or you can discuss if this is needed in advance. It is not included into official regulations, but maybe helpful. So just the general statements. If you have alcohol used in your production, but then there will be, and it is visible from the formula, make sure that you have a detailed explanation that it is eliminated during the production cycle, and finished product is not containing alcohol at all, because this fully banned. Then it can be requested a letter of a boycott of Israel. If your company is a partner or the part of countries where such letters are not officially allowed, so also there just discuss what kind of statement and explanation of relationship and supply chain will be sufficient to cover this topic. Reference samples and standards, again, only if there is a plan to perform in local Libya authorities some quality control of the goods. Pharmacovigilance topic. So we have finished with the registration. I don't know if there is any questions still. No. Okay, good. So pharmacovigilance officially is described as the resolution from 2015. There is a system for auditing and surveillance. However, it is even not started until 2017, and for now there is quite a few notes. So this the authorized body for this pharmacovigilance is Libyan Pharmacovigilance Department, but they are still lacking the processes and internal capacity to cover this. So there were several investigations conducted by different representatives, and learned that quite low percentage of pharmacists and doctors are aware about such system and aware how to participate in pharmacovigilance activities. So reporting is not officially is officially working, but not practically working well and fully functionable. And World Health Organization perform seminars, workshops, educational materials together with some other organizations, how to establish really well working adverse drug reactions reporting. So that is now, since 2019, Libya is a member of Uppsala Monitoring Center. But again, and the all official sources I have been able to reach is not stating data in a structured way and any statistics from Libya. So it's mainly done by the companies who have marketing activities in Libya, and they report any cases, but very few. And most of the cases also, what interesting from the investigation happened from the lack of knowledge about drug product, the prescription, and really not following the good pharmaceutical practices itself. That is also for serving this issue. European Union has funded the WHO, World Health Organization. They have organized special trainings and actually established a informational system where, and it was officially released by the government of Libya and introduced that medical doctors and pharmacists can find the information, can reach and find the correct and up-to-date information about drug lists, therapeutic classifications, or indications or posologies, and all the aspects. It is really a big step and important achievement for Libyan medical sector, because previously was really not in place, and several investigations showed really lack of information available and accessible by the medical health professionals in Libya. And maybe a few words about medical devices, some general requirements. So these are one slider here. So there is also a requirement to register all medical devices which enter Libyan market. The documentation and languages is both Arabic and English, and the classification systems can be all accepted, because there is no such locally established or any harmonization with official international requirements. No also information so far, the time of approval and validity of license. As you can also imagine, can be some additional information requested, but it all will depend on the really necessity and essential need for this or that device, and presence of other competitors. So the usually registration is accompanied with the purchasing program or tender program. So the tender announcement usually contained also requirements for the documentation and the process of review. Of course, it can be also done for the private sector and private orders done by your local representative office. So there are the examples of documentation mentioned, also the covering technical documentation, which is quite usual list of requirements. Then for sterile medical devices, there will be also additional requirements which which you have to provide, and the documentation as well. Then certificate of analysis, the samples of finished product, if it is applicable, for a 3 complete test, or sometimes it's really if only you don't provide something really super expensive, then you need to negotiate this. But this is usually required, the amount of product for such analysis. And if you are dealing with in vitro, and also the stability studies are requested. Packaging and labeling, so a lot of text. I can mention this repetitive, the general requirements. So the packaging material shall ensure the safety and quality of the product, the adequate with the humidity and heat. Here we remind ourselves that the official requirements and the WHO classification make Libya climatic zone 2, but still ensure that the labeling contain all required warnings. If the product is sensitive, then all the other information you usually with your standards, let's say the minimal information will of course require the trade name, the manufacturer responsible, all the information about contained. So this is more for medical devices, but for the drug product you follow your guidelines you have. Alternatively, you can take the guidelines from GCC for the labeling. Then, if it is a tender supply, there are also some additional requirements for the packaging and the documentation. So if it is official governmental tender, there will be some additional requirements which will prevent of incompliant then activities later. There is also a sub-product as a veterinary. I know we are now discussing more medicinal, but just a few words. So in case your company or partners are also working with this kind of production and products. So there are also some health regulations covering this kind of drugs, and it is mostly required for and used for food production animals. So there is quite a few cases where it is for cultural animals, and because it's just traditionally not really common. And there is also the National Veterinary Drug List, which shows the drugs available in Libya for these purposes. So there you can also discuss if you are interested in this kind of business or you have it in your portfolio. This can be an option. So the tenders, how they look like. So there is absolutely, I am not advertising anything, but just examples what I was able to find in internet. There is quite a number of pages and companies or company pages or the general pages where you can find information also related to medical supplies, equipment, and drug products. And there will be tenders issued by non-governmental organization, also governmental organization, but mostly private sector, you can also scroll and see what are the options. Then also during the tender will be done a lot of negotiations and review. So there was always special options also available, but they are depending on the essential, let's say, the nature of the product and this need by the company. So these are just examples of how to search. So not I'm not recommending any, but just the point that it's searchable. Processes, also to mention, processes which are not established, not regulated officially so far, or there is no clear understanding how these processes are working. So there is no difference for the application for innovative product, generic, abridged, etc. So still there is no clinical information requested in the scope of documents as we have reviewed. So you've seen that. So it is not required. There is also not clearly mentioned the life cycle management. So there is required renewals variations, but no guidelines specifying how exactly and which documentation is allowed to cover, and and this kind of actions you need to discuss all the time with the local agent. As we also review it and discuss the ICH guidelines and CTD dossier format is also not included officially into guidelines, but the ICH guidelines will be potentially like case by case and to specific requirements, of course, a part of the review, like for example, stability. Publicly disclosed information, that means that there is very, as I showed you, the web pages on the beginning, so it's really not very well updated, and it's very hard to retrieve the latest, current, up-to-date information about the registered list of registered medicinal products and manufacturers, and it is not publicly disclosed. There is no list of all actual and up-to-date registered product information because there is no process for labeling updates as well. And there is not very clear the process of selections of medicine to be a part of National Essential Medicines list. There's a process to change it, to review. Control of purchasing, the same. So this prescription category and antibiotics and other medicines are really dispensed very often without any controlling done well, and there is quite a lot of consequence issues related to that and to the health of a population. So this the same for advertisement, and there is no well control of the promotional practice, etc. So these are main, and actually these are space for improvement and establishment and good practices. This we are almost the end of my presentation, and this is a conclusion. So how we review together the requirements and the specific of the market. The market was severely damaged and still remains in this condition, and instability in the governmental area, and of course the medical sector includingly. But there is observed some trend and some improvements into the processes with the help of international organizations and and also some improvements in the infrastructure, in the development of pharmaceutical distribution channels. And of course, there has strong demand in the higher standards, in the amount of treatments, and the COVID situations also showed the need to improve the internal coverage of these treatment standards, because all traveling was also blocked and closed, and ad hoc requirements were not met. And the same is a reason, a requirement for a governmental changes and improvement in the following of local standards, the control of goods which are on the market, and the control of pharmaceutical activities. So despite of all this, let's say, despite of all these complexities, which probably can sound confusing, there is still a big potential because of the natural resources concentrated there, and growing needs of the population. So if there is an interest and a possibility to spend this time for registration and make some flexibility with some processes which are not really well described, but still, if you find the right partner and you understand the specific of the market, and you have the essential goods and interest to support with the required medicine and medicinal help, this will be really a window of opportunities, because there is a trend and a potential for development of this market. Okay, I have the question. Which of language is used for artworks? So the majority of drug products are in English. Package, because it's or the English plus Arabic package. So it is not. I am not sure if there is a requirement which is allowed any other language, but potentially packages from international markets are allowed if they are accompanied with the English. Was latest information, but there is no regulation for that. So it's like very good to have both, but at least English.
Marina, thank you very much for very written content presentation. We are very grateful. Thank you very much for your time, experience, and attention during this webinar. We have so far only one question. Dear colleagues, if you have any more questions to Marina regarding the topic, please address to one of the emails of Farm Education. We will forward it to speaker, and we will make sure that you receive the answer. Well, that's it for today. Thank you, everyone, for participation, and have a nice day. See you
Thank you for attention, and take care all. Have a nice day.
Take care. Have a nice day. See you at our next webinars. Goodbye.